Welcome to State of the State. I'm Darlene and I'm in conversation with Ray McKay. Ray is here to talk about his run for U.S. Congress. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is this your first time here?
It is.
All right. So let's start with a little bit about you.
Sure.
Are you a native Rhode Islander?
I am a native Rhode Islander. I was
Okay.
born and raised in Providence on the east side, right up the street from Merriam Hospital. Went to St. Raymond's School. And then from there I went on to St. Raymond's Academy and then Hope High School.
Okay. And then from there?
From there I joined the United States Army for 11 years.
Oh, wow. Where did that take you?
So that took me to Fort Sill. Well, actually, we started off in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Then we went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then to Germany for 2 tours. And,
Wow.
it was a lot of fun.
And what year was that?
We went on active duty in 81 and came back in 92.
Wow. And then you retired from the military?
No, I just put in 11 years.
Wow. Okay.
11 years, and it was time to move on.
Okay. 2.
I became a network and telecommunications manager with the city of Warwick, computer geek personified. Spent 26 years with the city and retired from there.
Okay. And you have a family?
I do. I have
13 grandchildren?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
As of
that's,
10 weeks ago, 13th was born.
Okay.
And I sent out a text message to the family chat, and I said, "Are we done yet? Christmas is getting expensive."
That's funny. All right,
So, and I've also got 3 Havanese dogs at home that take up my entire life.
I bet.
So they're good. They're cute and adorable.
I bet. So what inspired you to get into politics?
I've been in politics my entire life since I was a child.
All right, well, let's start right there. What inspired you as a child to exercise your political citizenship?
It would be family. My family was involved way back when. Joe Garrahy was running for office, and we had a big 4x4 sign on our front porch for him. Down the end of the street was where all the kids went down to pick up the literature, drop at the store at everybody's homes, and then went back for pizza. And they got me into politics with pizza.
Okay.
And the rest is history.
Well, what were some of your values then? You know, what were you interested in and maybe interested in changing?
So back in those days, I was a minor, and I was just enjoying the excitement of everything that was going on. My political perspective, that didn't come on till later on in life.
Okay.
As I became an adult and served on active duty and visited Oklahoma, visited Germany, it provided me with a new vision of what the world was compared to being in Rhode Island.
Did it change your perspective?
It reinforced it, to
Okay.
be honest with you. Going out in Germany and living there on the economy and seeing some of the older folks, they were just marvelous. Take care of themselves, lead by example, raise children, family-oriented. And again, back in Oklahoma, same thing there, very family-oriented, very country, God and country. So not much different from when I was raised in Providence.
Okay. So you said you've always been in politics. Did you do anything or want to change anything early on?
Yes.
Okay, like?
Yes.
Okay.
So 1998 was my first run for office. I had just joined the Warwick Republican Party.
Okay.
And
Before that, were you a Democrat,
I came off of active duty in 92.
Okay.
So there was 6 years of finding a place to live and getting settled with the family. And once I got settled with the family in 97, I got involved in politics with the Republican Party, because that's where I lean. I'm a constitutional conservative. Before anything else, everybody says you're a Republican. I'm a constitutional conservative.
What does that mean? Let's just expand on that.
Sure.
And then we'll go back to your initial foray. So what do you mean by a constitutional conservative?
So a constitutional conservative, I put the Constitution before all else. The laws and everything else of this nation, we're a nation of laws. We're a sovereign nation, and we need to take care of that. We need to take care of the Constitution. The Constitution provides this nation with the greatest hope for its citizens. Today we find a lot of citizens out there without hope, because people don't care about the Constitution anymore. They want to tweak it. The Constitution is a document which protects us and provides us with the checks and balances for the government, lets the government know that we, the people, are in charge, not the government. And lately, the government's been more and more in charge and less the people.
Okay, so getting back to your first foray into politics and that run.
So that first run was against a nice gentleman by the name of Senator William Oleska, God rest his soul. Good people. And we didn't have anybody. And they said, Ray, what do you think? I'm like, okay. And it was a learning lesson. And that was my first foray into running for office.
Okay.
And from that point forward, I decided running at the time wasn't my drink. I was a weeds guy. I was going to be in the weeds. I was the grassroots, getting out the vote, working the door to door, talking to people and everything else. I'm rather shy, so my people skills, yeah, okay, then, well, I'm kidding. But no. But I enjoyed the mechanisms of making the politics work. And so I did that for 20 years. And after I
did what for 20 years?
Working the mechanisms, making the politics work, going and joining the various teams, whether it was volunteering for Governor Bush before he became president in New Hampshire, or moving on and supporting Governor Don Carcieri's team, or going down to Pennsylvania for President Bush in 2004. And going back to Pennsylvania for both Senator McKay and Governor Romney. So staying active in being that. And then, of course, the local politics. A friend of mine decided he tried to run for state rep out of Barrington, Mr. Fred Deal, retired Navy, now he's down in Florida. So I've always been active and involved, and that's just been the life. And finally, after my retirement, there's more time on my hands to dedicate. There's a need in this country to fix the country. And as I said earlier, I'm not the solution. I don't walk on water, but I am part of the solution. I'm the patriot this nation needs, that the citizens of the state of Rhode Island need to be their voice in Washington.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that you want to do.
So there are three things that are driving me. So it's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everybody says, well, that's so mundane. But it's us. It's America. That's what we're all about, is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And so my campaign takes a look at that. And for Rhode Island to get to those, that's a bold call, a call to challenge, a call to make things happen. And so the three things we're going to be focusing on is the economy, because our citizens are having a hard time making ends meet. And we need to take care of that. Part of the economic equation is the overspending by the federal government. That has to stop. You and I and everybody watching this program and our children will be long dead and buried.
Let's hone in. Where do you think the overspending is?
Well, we're going to start with what's going on in the United States of America today. We are funding an awful lot of illegal aliens. That's a problem, huge problem. They need to be taken care of. And their government should be taking care of their citizens. We've got homeless veterans, we've got homeless and hungry children and their parents that we're not taking care of here in the United States of America. One of the...
Well, you know, as far as immigration goes, how many immigrants do you think we can support coming in every year?
Well, first, let's start with zero.
Okay.
Let's start with zero. Let's put the wall up. Let's secure our nation. And then we have an entry place, because we are all immigrants.
Well, we do have a legal entry. We have a process.
We do have a process that's broken.
So with the, okay, but you know, how many can we support annually, do you think, versus what's coming in, and then where are we getting the funding to support the excess?
Those would be numbers we'd have to look at. I don't have those numbers now, but that is something that needs to be looked at. Can we support 9 million people that have come across over the past 3 years? The answer right now is no. And I come up with that.
Yeah, where do you get the 9 million from?
So the 9 million is what's provided by the administration. both the Democrats and the Republicans, that's pretty much a number that everybody's agreeing on. So a bipartisan number.
So we don't know if we can support 9 million.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't know that we can support them, but what we do know is that in the United States of America, without those 9 million people, we have a housing shortage. Without those 9 million people. Are they exacerbating the problem? Maybe so. We need to stop the bleeding. We need to take care of our own. We are a benevolent society. We're good people. But don't take advantage of us. And that's what's happening today.
Okay. And so what else? So immigration.
So immigration, and again, that's all part of the economic side of the house. The second thing is Rhode Islanders, we have an older population. So we have to take a look and take a look at Social Security.
Do you know what the numbers are as far as the demographics for Rhode Island?
I didn't bring them with me, but the answer is yes.
Okay.
They're sitting at the computer at home.
Okay.
So, but we do have all
Rough
those
estimate?
Democrats. Rough estimate right now is about 40% of Rhode Islanders are coming close to being seniors.
65 and older?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Those are the rough numbers.
Okay.
Again, numbers are on the computer. I
Okay.
don't have those, so don't hold it. Well, everybody can hold it. It's politics. But with that said, we've got to take care of our senior citizens. Number one, I'm a Republican. So the biggest lie that's out there, and it is a big lie, that several Republicans are going to take away Social Security. No. Ray McKay is not going to. I will not vote for ever taking away Social Security. I will propose legislation that will shore up the trust fund, the Social Security trust fund, and that will stop people from raiding it. Last year's federal budget, $4.3 trillion. Senator Whitehouse was in charge of the budget for the Senate. President of the United States signed it into law. $0 were put into that budget to shore up Social Security.
In Rhode Island?
In the nation.
In the nation?
In the nation. We're paying it as we go along, and everybody's talking about it going broke. We need to take action on it, and it needs to be done. We've been talking about it going broke for decades. Everybody knows it's been a problem. Everybody's kicked it down the street. So we need to start it, and it'll start with my generation, and it won't happen overnight. There'll be some bumps and bruises along the way, but it needs to get fixed.
Okay. What else? So borders, Social Security. What about our food source, water source, energy supplies, transportation systems?
Yep. So we take a look. Let's go with the green energy right now that we've got going on. And where we're clear cutting forests in Hopkinton and putting in solar panels. Something about photosynthesis helping us breathe oxygen and everything else.
And that
solar
land
panels don't contribute to that.
And who owns that land?
I'd have to take a look.
Okay.
I'd have to take a look. I know it happens. But with that said, green energy is part of the solution. It is not the solution. You cannot destroy an ecosystem like we're getting ready to do on Cox's Ledge here in May when we start dropping all those rocks into the bed of the ocean so we can pulverize them, so we can build a foundation. So there's an ecosystem down there. And no one, everybody else thinks it's okay to, that ecosystem's not too important. Okay. And we've walked away from nuclear energy. France right now is at 60% of all their energy that they use is nuclear powered. The United States of America, for the first time in August of last year, fired up its first nuclear power plant after 4 decades of not investing in it.
Well, where was that?
Good question. Politics, money.
Well,
Don't do it in my
Where
backyard.
is this plant? You said it was fired up
Yes.
after 40 years of
Yes,
being
I believe
dormant?
it was down in Georgia, Alabama or Georgia. I believe it was Georgia.
Okay.
So the first one brought online in 4 decades.
Do you know why?
No, I don't know
was
the
there like an
political
energy
reasons,
source? Okay.
the money and everything else. Everybody says, well, it costs $2 billion to build a power plant or $4 billion to build a power plant. Well, I take a look at the money that the Biden administration just turned loose to invest in this green energy. And without the Biden administration's investment in green energy, not quite sure how green energy would move forward in America today. Everybody's got their tax credits. and move them around. If the tax credits weren't there, would it be feasible? And the biggest thing about green energy, while it is renewable, nobody, and Rhode Islanders are feeling this, nobody says it's cheap. Nobody says it's going to reduce your cost. It's renewable, it's clean, but it's not cheap.
Okay.
And that's something we need to take a look at. We need to be cognizant of our citizens. The local people, I mean, the millionaires and billionaires, they're not going to care because they're going to be able to pay the bill. But our moms and dads who go to work every day, 9-to-5 jobs, earning a decent living, forget about our poor people, earning a decent living.
But how do we get our political officials to listen to us?
Passion, action, leadership. You bring somebody like me to the table who doesn't back down and calls them out and points out what is going on so the general public knows. Transparency in your government is so important. Again, going back to the Constitution, the people control the government don't control the people. And we need to return to that.
Okay.
Our citizens deserve that. Rhode Islanders deserve that.
Mm-hmm. So how do citizens learn about that and learn how to do that and then reach their political officials?
So there are several ways. Real simple, you've got my website, which is one way of reaching out and talking to Team McKay, and we'll help you along that path. And that's McKayforsenate.com. That's one way of doing that. And then there's the libraries. I mean, Google's out there. And I know we got to be a little careful with the AI nowadays. AI is not a great, it's good, but it's also backed by humans, so you got to be careful about that. So those are ways that they can find out, they can reach out to get involved. A lot of families, a lot of voters out there spend too much time worrying about, and rightfully so, worrying about putting food on the table, paying their mortgage, taking care of their families, and they expect and trust that the politicians, and there's the problem, they want to be politicians, they should be statesmen. The politicians are going to do what's right for them. So they have faith and they trust, and that faith and trust has been broken, and it needs to be restored. And that's why I'm part of why I'm running.
But how do you find the balance? You know, what might be right for me might not be right for someone else, a fellow citizen.
Right.
So where do you find the balance?
It is a balance. It is a balance of conversation. Yeah, everybody speaks about reaching across the aisle. It is a balance of conversation. It is a balance of understanding the needs of your citizens. Ronald Reagan once said it best, that if we get along 85% of the time, life is good. Because there is no 100%. There is not 100% in anything we do in life.
Well, why do you think there's so much division now in the political arena? And there's not more compromise and more communication?
Because there is a fight for the heart and soul of this nation. There are people who are happy to see the United States fail. They want to see the Constitution change.
Who are these people?
They would be communists, they would be Marxists, they would be socialists that have been in the country forever. The Communist Party, Communist Party's been around forever, since back in the 30s and 40s. That we openly, and they openly claim that they are. So that's nothing new. That's not a surprise to anybody. What part of the party are they are? I would see the war that's going on in the Democratic Party today. Those folks are not John Kennedy Democrats anymore.
Well, was John Kennedy a Democrat?
In today's age, he would be a Republican,
Yeah.
in my personal opinion. And that's in my personal opinion. But for our senior citizens today, who grew up and loved Jackie,
What do you think
and
of
John.
Robert Kennedy's? So he's interested in, well, he's running for president,
Yes,
right?
he is.
So he's
If he
interested
can
in
get
running
on all the
country.
ballots. I thought he was very interesting.
Would you say he did not get on all the
strikes.
ballots? What'd you say?
I thought he was interesting.
No, what'd you say?
Oh,
on
I
the
said if he
ballot?
gets on all the ballots.
If he gets, okay.
If he gets on all the ballots,
Okay.
yes. I thought he brings some interesting conversations to the table. And that's what we need in America. We need all the conversations at the table.
Who would you like to see as president?
Who would I like to see as president?
Because I would be your boss, would it? No.
No.
No, actually,
No.
I'd be your boss.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Well said. There you go. The people are in charge.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who would you like to see as president?
I am not going to vote for Joe Biden.
Okay.
Okay. We've got, right now, I'm running for the United States Senate. The people will decide who they want for
I
president.
introduced you as running for Congress.
You did. But you are correct that I am a member of, that I will be a member of Congress once I beat White House.
Okay.
Because the Congress has the upper chamber and the lower chamber. The United States Senate is the upper chamber. The House of Representatives is the lower chamber. So we're all part of Congress.
Yeah. Okay, so getting back to strength and stability, our food and water sources.
Yes.
You made a comment, or you have a comment on your website that China is buying up our farmland.
Yes. And that is happening. That's a matter of fact.
Who's selling it to China?
Americans.
Okay.
And
do they know that?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I don't have that answer. I didn't talk to the sellers yet and find out why, in God's good name, you would give away our farmland to a foreign adversary. And I don't call them enemy yet. We're not at war, so they're not an enemy. They have a different political system, a different thought process. They have their own challenges in their own world, and we don't agree with a lot. But I'll go with adversary right now. Why would you sell our food production to an adversary and allow them to control it going forward?
Well, is it just land or is it actual production?
It's actually both.
Okay.
It's actually both. There are some meat processing plants that the Chinese have bought in the United States of America. A lot of the farmland they've bought. We've got, the biggest buy was in Oregon, over 250,000 acres to one wealthy Chinese individual of woodland acreage, and that type of stuff. We need to be careful about that. Yes, capitalism is
private seller,
good.
or is this the state? Like, who would have how many acres?
250,000, so 250,000.
So who has 250,000 acres of land? And then
some wealthy American citizen? I don't know.
I
don't have the answer.
Private citizen? Okay.
I'm going to go with the private citizen. I believe in 2015 it was, because I believe that's the year of the sale was 2015. Why we allow that? Why? It may be new to, it may be a nuance nobody's ever thought about before, but we need to move swiftly. And something like that, unfortunately, Congress doesn't move swiftly for anything. But we need to protect ourselves. It's part of our national security. Our food supply is part of our national security. The other day, I was in one of the local chains picking up some scallops. I took a look at the scallops.
Where'd they come from?
That's where we're going.
Okay.
They were farm raised.
I'm on to you, Ray.
Yeah, there you go. They were farm raised scallops, and
I
picked up one bag. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're not American. So they weren't fresh scallops off the water. They were frozen, and I'm like, okay. I was just doing my pre-shopping for the week, and I looked over the bag and said, Peru. I'm like, oh, put it down. One, looked a couple of others. So I went back and picked up the bag that I thought I put down. And I brought it home, checked out, and I figured there was scallops. Looked at the bag last night, totally unrelated to this show, and it said China. Farm raised in China.
Wow. So those scallops have quite the journey to get here.
Yes, they do.
But trade is important, right? So how do you find the balance, right, between trade and us having our own food sources and water sources, energy sources, the products, the table, the plates, the silverware, like all that, goes into actually eating.
Yes.
So how do you find the balance between trade and us supporting ourselves, sort of?
So this is a global economy. And the reason we don't produce an awful lot in the United States of America is because there's cheap labor overseas and people will work for less money, or they'll work for almost no money compared to the American standard of living. We need to encourage the American standard of living across the globe. That's the first and foremost. everybody wants to be in a global society. Everybody wants to compete globally.
Well, could it also be that the
then-
laws are just make it difficult to produce some products here? I mean, do we have the factories and the labor, the manpower, so to speak, to work in the factories?
The
right,
answer is, for a long, long time, we did. And we still do. We still have good, smart, intellectual American citizens who can do the work. But the companies chose to leave the nation and go overseas to find
But
the
why?
less.
Is it because of some policies that we have here that the government has put in place here that makes it easier to produce the product overseas?
Sure. There are a couple of policies I can name right off the top of your head. OSHA. We take care of our workers. That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. And then you've got the environmental protection laws that we've got, the EPA. We just talked about the environment. We have to be good stewards of it.
Do you want to revamp OSHA and what else did you say? I'm sorry.
The EPA.
Yeah, do you want to revamp that?
No.
Okay.
I want everybody to meet their standards.
Overseas?
Yes.
But I don't know if that's going to keep the jobs here.
But it would, because the reasons for them to leave go away. If they raise their standards of living to American standards, and the way we encourage that, the way we encourage them to adopt, is what was going on with the previous president's policies in regards to tariffs. It raises the price of incoming goods. Does it hurt Americans? Yes. Does it encourage American business to come back and manufacture here? And the answer is yes. Do we put more Americans back to work? And the answer is yes. We've got an awful lot of Americans who aren't working today, who could be working. We've got a lot of Americans who the government has decided, in its infinite wisdom, to pay them more money to stay home than to go to work. We need to rethink that. We Americans became a great nation, and we're still a great nation. We're just having some stumbling along the way, growing pains, if you would. We're only 200 years old, 250 years old. And so we're a little growing pains, but we're still a great nation. But we need to bring everything back. Americans need to remember what it is to pick yourself up by the boots, dust your pants off, and make it happen. We can do it. We're that good of a nation. We're that good of a people. We just have to remember where we came from. And that's one thing that was asked of me the other day. I was having some pizza and a beer, and one of the folks there, a friend of mine.
Pizza.
We do like our pizza. And one of the folks at the bar said, "Ray, when you go to Washington, you gonna remember me?" And the answer is, I'll never forget where I come from.